So I'm wearing a robe because it's a little chilly. um, the house is over 120 years old, according to public records. And although my super landlady had the house wonderfully re insulated a few years ago, which has made an incredible difference, um, it's still, the kitchen is probably the least thermally defended room in the house, and it is currently, it says it's 49. It's a beautiful day, it's sunny, but it's very windy, and we had a lot of snow and rain, so the humidity is high. And despite what my boyfriend says, it absolutely feels chillier when the air is damp. So I mentioned in my second ever video that I'm not sure why I'm recording or what I intend to do. Just kind of want to have a stream of consciousness, talk about things that interest me. If anybody wants to watch, great. I'm not worried about likes, downvotes, thumbs up, thumbs down. I'm not interested in monetization unless, I suddenly get 1 million views per video. Sure, it'd be dumb to not cash in, but that's not why I'm doing what I'm doing. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about this guy here. There are probably hundreds, if not thousands, of videos about KitchenAid stand mixers and, how to use them, what to do with them, what you can cook with them. I just. So, as an aside, I grew up learning how to cook. One of my favorite photos of myself is a picture of me at 3 years old standing on a stool, sauteing shrimp. My mother made sure that her children knew how to cook. And, it's one thing to be able to put a slice of toast in the toaster and put some eggs in a pan. It's another thing to be taught French tossed light frying method to a child at 3 years of age. I'm not saying I'm, Bobby Flay or Auguste Escoffier or anything like that, but, I'm quite proud of my familiarity with the kitchen. One of the things that has sort of been a staple for any serious home cook, or, among many other appliances that it's recommended a person own, KitchenAid, with its versatility, becomes indispensable. And I think, for years, I knew that I wanted one, but I wasn't going to compromise on what I expected out of making such an acquisition. Excuse me. I've heard some horror stories, people buying, inexpensive, alternative branded stand kitchen mixers, and them falling apart, breaking, burning out after a year of use, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, no. My whole approach to the things I seek to acquire, I won't say that I have expensive tastes or that I'm a snob, but I'm not going to invest in something that, is going to fall apart, in a frame of time that I deem pointless. I'm not going to buy a $50 blender from Walmart. I'm not going to buy, a $7,000, 2011 Kia Rio. I'm not going to invest my time and money. If I don't have the money to buy what I want, then I just don't buy it. not going to buy IKEA furniture anymore. I'd rather have an empty room than a room filled with furniture that's not going to survive after one move or 3 years of constant use. So that brings me back to this guy. So KitchenAid makes, generally, there are many different sizes and models of KitchenAid mixers, but the two basic forms that most KitchenAid stand mixers take is lift head, which is where you would see this guy. You would lift that up to put different attachments on, and then you have this, which is called a bowl lift. Now, part of what I wanted in terms of me mentioning not wanting to compromise is, so this is the KitchenAid Williams-Sonoma limited edition pearl, copper pearl, copper satin professional bowl lift model. Brand new, this would have been I think about $1,100, and they were a hot commodity. They're workhorses. They have a stronger motor than even other lower spec models of the bowl lift KitchenAid mixer, and certainly a stronger motor than even the tilt heads, even the best tilt heads. It's, the motors are rated as DC, and I believe this is like a 1.5 HP horsepower motor. That makes a big difference in terms of, you wouldn't use a tilt head mixer in a professional bakery to churn out, hundreds of loaves of bread. The thing would start smoking and sparking after the first 30 minutes. This is the home version of the professional countertop stand mixer that KitchenAid markets. And the finish makes it particularly desirable. It's kind of, not great. It looks kind of washed out in this light, but that is actual copper. It's not copper through and through. It's a copper, plated onto steel, but it's, you see a lot of kitchen accessories these days that are, they're copper, and they cost $2.99. I don't know what kind of copper you think you're getting for $2.99, but it's not copper. I did not pay $1,100 for this. I paid, I want to say, it was over $700. So ever since the pandemic, a lot of companies have gone out of business. A lot of retail companies and manufacturers, those who survived, they had to trim back their offerings and reduce production on things to survive. And KitchenAid actually stopped making the satin copper limited edition professional bowl lift stand mixer. I don't know if they have since brought it back, but I actually had a little bit of an odyssey with this. That when I sent it to be repaired shortly after my purchase of it, they were, I was worried they were going to try and pull a bait and switch on me. Oh, it got damaged during repair. Where I'm like, I would have listen, you better send me back the mangled remains. But they were trying to encourage me to accept a different model. And I said, no, I want the one that I bought repaired and returned to me. I want the copper stand mixer returned to me in working order. And I've seen some of these go on eBay upwards of $1,500, close to $2,000 now, if and when they come up at all. I think KitchenAid / Williams Sonoma should bring back the copper satin finish, but I'm not the person who makes these decisions. Copper's an expensive metal now, and it certainly holds its value. Part of why I paid so little for this was it was a display model at the Williams Sonoma in Natick, at the Natick Mall in Natick, Massachusetts. And I remember stepping into the store, and I had not walked into Williams Sonoma that day anticipating purchasing a $1,000 KitchenAid stand mixer. But I was aware that at that point, as the pandemic restrictions started to be eased and stores were opening up again and people could go out in public, that the copper model was no longer being offered. And so when I saw this sitting on the shelf in the store, whether by hook or crook or it was not leaving the store without it, because this is the model of stand mixer that I told myself that if I was going to buy a KitchenAid stand mixer, this was the one I was going to buy. And I honestly couldn't even believe it that it was still standing there. And when I approached the salespeople, they said, "Oh no, it's not for sale." And I was like, no. Excuse me. I know from having worked at Williams Sonoma that if a product is no longer in stock, is no longer made, and will no longer be available, then you have to offer the floor model as long as it's functioning for sale. And I made a stink. Not a rude stink, not a mean stink, not a nasty stink, but I made a stink. And I said, I want to talk to the manager. And they're like, he's on lunch. And I was like, okay, well then when's he coming back? Because I'll either wait or come back today, but I'm not leaving this mall without this mixer. I was like, I'm very sorry. I don't mean to be a Becky, Karen, rude person. And I wasn't being rude, but I was just like, I'm buying this mixer today. And so the manager finally came back from lunch, and well, she wasn't the manager. The store manager was not in that day, so it was the assistant manager. And she said, "Oh, we'll get you all the parts for it." But they didn't have all the parts. They didn't have the box. They didn't have the parts. This part was damaged. This cover for the attachment was all bent. There were some scratches. It was the floor model, and it had been heavily poked and prodded. And she was only willing to do 10% off. I said, no, because if you accept something as 10% off, then it becomes final sale. So I said, I'll just pay full price, and then I'll come back and talk to the manager when he's in. Because I had this feeling that if I left that day, now that the store associates knew that it was fair game, it would not be long for the world in Williams Sonoma, Natick, Massachusetts. So I went back at a later date, and the manager was very friendly, very understanding, and he said, "You absolutely should not have been only offered 10% off for this. If it's missing these parts and it's in this condition, no." And so he's like, we can do, I don't remember what the percent is, and don't ask me because I'm terrible at math. But it wound up coming down to like $730 with tax. And I feel accomplished. It's certainly more than a standard KitchenAid mixer would cost, and the price is a little bit more than what standard professional series bowl lift models would have cost, but considering that it was normally an $1,100 model, and I paid, $730, whatever it was, I think I did pretty good. So you also would have noticed probably that that's a glass bowl attached to it. The glass bowl is not a standard bowl for that model. The standard model bowl is a 7-quart bowl, and that glass bowl is a 6-quart. But I thought that the glass bowl would have made a more aesthetically pleasing and less distracting accompaniment to the mixer than a big shiny chrome metal bowl. So now, why did I want to talk about the stand mixer? I didn't really. I mean, as far as what I could talk about in my fledgling YouTube video life chronicling goes, I could have talked about any number of things, and I think I handled my first videos in the manner that I wanted to. I think this is less of an story about me acquiring a stand mixer and more an exercise for me into seeing what kinds of videos I want to make or the kind of topics I want to cover. I think it's me getting comfortable staring at the camera, me talking to the camera as I become more comfortable and as I grow more accustomed to the sound of my voice. Maybe I would be more comfortable discussing more hard-hitting topics, giving more insight into my life, or talking about things that other people want to hear about that make people think. I don't know. But maybe I just want to talk about shit that I bought. I don't know. I have lots of things that I've acquired. I wouldn't consider myself materialistic, but I've acquired a lot of things throughout my life. But, I always strive to put a lot of thought into the things that I acquire, the things that I bring into my life, and the same for not just things, but people, friends, my family, how I keep them in my life. And I think that also begets the question of, well, those who know me know that I don't talk to my family a lot. And so what am I saying by that? That I don't love them? That I don't want to talk to them? No. It's, my sole surviving grandparent, my grandmother down in Florida, she's in her mid/late 90s. And I love her more than life itself. And yet I haven't spoken to her in probably 2 months now. And that's a whole topic for another video. But I just want to see how this, integrating a video journal, video chronicle of my life is going to feel. Is this who I am now? Or is this what I want to do? Is this me? I'm inspired in part by my partner, Dan. He watches a lot of videos on YouTube of people talking about their life or lives. The trials and tribulations of the things they go through on a day-to-day basis, or their exploits, their adventures, the people they meet, the food they eat, the homes they're building, or the voyages and adventures and trips they're having. And, I don't think that my life is particularly riveting. But, some people, they turn the camera on and they talk about watching paint dry. And they get dozens of views. Like I said, I'm not invested in the number of views I get. But, if someone can talk about paint drying, why shouldn't I talk about the things I want to talk about and record them for posterity at the same time? I mean, Lord knows, anyone who knows me as well as, say, my family or partner knows that I talk to myself. I guess this way I can talk to myself and not seem like a complete and utter lunatic. My refrigerator is making some very unusual sounds. I think it may be in a defrost mode. Who knows? Anyway, so that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Thanks.